Name something that gets passed around.
A joint.
A joint.
Now, streaming live on the Marijuana Agenda.
Oh, really? What are you people? On dope?
It's time for Toker Talk Radio.
Hey, this is great, man.
The voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug. That is absurd.
Call in now at 650-LEGAL-MJ. That's 650-534-2565.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
Hey, man. Am I driving okay?
Toker Talk Radio is your chance to make your voice heard in the Marijuana Nation.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
Send that message with clarity that good people don't smoke marijuana.
Now let's get to Toking and Talking with your host, Russ Belville.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Time for Toker Talk Radio. Sorry for all of the massive technical problems we were having earlier. I don't know what to tell you, man. Lots of stuff happened all at once. And then as soon as I was getting it fixed, the laptop crashed. And so I got the laptop back up. And as soon as I got it back up, only one of the cameras would work. So I moved that camera, and now it's all zoomed in, so you're all real close to me. My head's all big. I'm trying to fix that in the background and trying to catch up on the chat room and dealing with all of these new layouts and new fixes and new studio that we got going. But I appreciate your patience. I appreciate those of you hanging out and helping me in the chat room and helping others to be able to find out where the hell the show has gone. So thank you so much for that. Coming up on this hour, we've got some video from Christie. I talked about him in the rant. We've got the video of him going off on marijuana legalization. We've got some oil company CEOs in Canada that are worried that marijuana legalization might cost them some money. Oh, no. And we've also got news from the NFL where we've got some reasoning behind why Roger Goodell is trying to hamper the development of cannabis use by the players. We've also got news from Disney World, officially not the happiest place on earth, in my opinion, and a really interesting bust of marijuana near Tombstone, Arizona. All that coming up. But first,
smoking marijuana will not make someone stupid, but some stupid people do smoke marijuana. While we fight every day to end the prohibition of marijuana for adults, until then, you're just one encounter with police away from a very bad day. Let this example be a teachable moment and learn your lessons the easy way in this edition of the Marijuana Agenda's Stupid Stoner Stories. Now, buy a flux capacitor from the basement of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics in 1937. Here's old-timey radio reporter Freddie Farrock.
this just in, 10 charged after marijuana is found in a child's Easter basket. Shawnee, Oklahoma. Authorities in Oklahoma say 10 people have been charged with drug-related offenses after a marijuana cigarette found inside a child's Easter basket at a school led police to a home where marijuana was growing. The Shawnee News Star reports that the police investigation began last month after a teacher who was counting Easter eggs discovered the marijuana cigarette inside a student's basket at school. Shawnee Police Corporal Vivian Lozano says the basket had been dropped off by the student's aunt. Lozano says officers later executed a search warrant at a home where officers found marijuana plants growing in styrofoam containers. She says officers also found drug paraphernalia and a shotgun in the home. 10 people who were in the home at the time were charged last week by prosecutors. I'm Freddie Farrock with your stupid stoner stories. Wow, man. That's a whole new level of stupid. Leaving your joint in the Easter basket. Oh my God. Why do we... this is so difficult. People, we are doing so well with marijuana legalization. It's quite easy for it to get screwed up still. You can't... Whoa, look at that. Whoa! I think I found how that one works. All right, let's go over there and make me so less fat there. Yeah, I found Skinny Cam. That's kind of fun. All right. So anyway, where was I? Oh yes. The leaving the joint in the Easter basket. Not cool, people. We're doing so well getting legalization passed, and you get a story like this, and it just feeds into the worst possible stereotypes and fears, the what about the children fear. And we need to maybe be proactive about this and point out that people can still be shitty parents. Marijuana doesn't make them shitty parents. Shitty parents do shitty things. And this is just someone who forgot, wasn't having due diligence, wasn't keeping her stuff put away, whatever. I don't think it was intended to, hey, let's get the kids high on Easter. So these kind of events are going to happen, and we're going to have to be careful about it. Also, another stupid stoner story, just to close up the segment. A man crashed into a Santa Rosa pet store. Cops say he was high on marijuana. How did they know? Because the driver said so. 26-year-old Jeffrey Dallas Pearson of Santa Rosa told police he had smoked marijuana prior to the accident. Officials said he was arrested for driving under the influence of drugs. Shut the fuck up.
You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
Looking for the 420 friendliest way to visit beautiful legal Potland, Oregon?
I'm Lori Duckworth, inviting you to come stay with us at Delta 9 House and Studios.
You get your own private room with queen bed and access to our high-speed Wi-Fi, premium entertainment system, and more.
We'll even cook you breakfast. Look us up on Facebook at Delta 9 House.
That's facebook.com/Delta9House. Delta 9 House is booked through Airbnb and licensed by the City of Portland.
It's time for cannabis facts about Alzheimer's from Robert Platshorn's thesilvertour.org. This message is supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com. A new Florida study in the journal Molecular and Cellular Neuroscience found that cannabis promotes the growth of healthy new brain tissue. It can slow the effects of Alzheimer's and may in fact be able to halt it entirely. A long-term study by Ohio State University's Professor Gary Wenk concludes that people who regularly use marijuana get Alzheimer's at a much lower rate than others. This was Cannabis Facts from thesilvertour.org, an educational nonprofit supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com.
The Marijuana Agenda. Kevin Sabet's boogeyman since 2012.
You have offended my family, and you have offended Shaman Temple.
Yes, might have gotten away with it, too. If it wasn't for these blasted kids and their dogs.
I'm Russ Belville from the Marijuana Agenda. Join me every 4 weeks for the UK Cannabis Chronicle from the UK Cannabis Social Clubs. Learn more at mjagenda.com/about.
Tjena, jag heter David, PKA Dirtball. Vi ska röka hela tiden, alla år.
It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation. Call in now at 650-LEGAL-MJ.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 9 after the hour here at Delta 9 Studios in beautiful legal Potland, Oregon. Isn't it beautiful? Man, Mount Hood in the background. Oh, it's just gorgeous. So I found this story coming out of Canada that CBC News put up entitled, "You Don't Want Guys Stoned. Oil Patch CEOs Worry Legal Weed Will Mean Higher Costs." Oh, no, yeah, we wouldn't want stoned guys working on the oil rigs in the oil field. Might mess up their hangover. Here's the story. They talked to Precision Drilling CEO Kevin Neveau. Now, this guy is based in Calgary. He's got operations in Canada and the United States. And he says he's opposed to Canada legalizing marijuana because what happened in Colorado after they legalized marijuana. Now, the main objection he has is the costs. He says the costs increased for employees who need drug counseling or for those who failed drug tests and must be sent home under Precision's zero-tolerance drug and alcohol policy. And it's more difficult to find new recruits, typically young men, who can pass pre-employment drug tests, he said. Quote, we have certainly failed more people in Colorado for drug use after legalization than we did before, he said, though he was unable to give specific numbers. Quote, there's a link, there's a cause. Even during the recruitment phase where we warn them we'll do a test, a surprising number still test positive, end quote. All right, well, you know what I think about drug testing. The argument here is that these guys are working on oil rigs, big, heavy machinery. The chance of injury is very high, and we don't want them very high. But I got to call into question his statement here that they have a zero-tolerance drug and alcohol policy. Because I highly doubt they're employing any sort of test that will determine whether or not the people working on those oil rigs had drank a beer last week. Whether or not they got messed up, puking drunk a week ago. They're completely over their drunk. They're completely sober to work on the oil rig. But last weekend, they got puking drunk, and so they've got to be fired. They've got to be given drug counseling, and that would increase the cost, wouldn't it? See, this is the problem. These guys want to bitch and complain about their costs going up rather than examining whether or not they should be paying that cost in the first place. They just assume, well, we got to drug test people for marijuana. And they're not dumb. They know damn well that a positive test for marijuana that comes up only shows that a person has smoked marijuana, not that they're currently high on marijuana. But for them, it's easier to just have a blanket ban on all people who smoke pot, whether they're smoking it responsibly or not, whether they're getting high at the job or they're coming to work perfectly sober. Just ban them all because the chance that there might be one that's high. Just ban them all because one or two of them might be high. Now, imagine if they had put forth the policy banning all Muslims from working on the oil rigs because, there's a chance one or two of them might be a terrorist. Or how about, for that matter, Christians? There's a lot of Christian terrorists out there too. Yeah, they just call them, KKK and anti-abortion people, but they're Christian terrorists. Got to ban Christians and Muslims from working at the oil rigs because there's a slight chance some of them might be terrorists. Well, that's what we're doing with the pot. We're deciding that, because they're pot smokers, they're an unacceptable risk without determining whether they are actually a risk or not. Now, these guys, they'll call up all sorts of bullshit stats. This one guy says, this is the CEO Cameron McGillivray from Enform, another oil company. He says, quote, there is well-documented research to demonstrate cognitive impairments that can last more than 24 hours and up to 20 days for chronic marijuana use, end quote. No, there's not. And frankly, CEO Cameron McGillivray, I'd love to challenge you to any battery of cognitive tests you'd like to compete against me in. I smoke marijuana every day, every 4 hours. I am the very definition of a chronic marijuana smoker, and I'm far from lean, so plenty of it's stored in my bodily tissues. And I'll bet you dollars to crullers, loonies to crullers, I should say. I'll bet you loonies to crullers that I'd kick your ass in Jeopardy, or Trivial Pursuit, or crossword puzzles, or chess, or any number of mental pursuits you want to take on. This idea, they try to rely on this idea, marijuana, it's affecting people for weeks and weeks after they stop using. They've got to do that to try to justify the fact that the positive tests are showing only that someone's used within weeks and weeks. These same guys are like, alcohol, that's no big deal, because if they get drunk, why, that doesn't affect them for days and days afterwards. Well, guess what? There's better science to show the effect of a hangover is a safety risk than people who smoked pot the week before or even the day before. So I'm sorry, cry me a river. You can't find anybody to work on your oil rigs. Boo-hoo. You sound like Christine Tatum, worried in Colorado. She can't find any good help at the Home Depot, or at the Lowe's it was. She couldn't find any good help at the Lowe's because they can't find enough people in Colorado who can pass the drug test. And we can't have stoned people cleaning the toilets and washing the floors there at the Home Depot, can we? It's just rank discrimination. It's just rank discrimination against one class of people based on the content of their body, the makeup of their body. The fact there's this certain molecule in our body gives them the license to discriminate against us, gives them the pseudoscience, junk science justifications to determine that we're unworthy of being treated as full citizens in this country. And it's just got to stop. I mean, we came to the realization in this country that we couldn't discriminate against people or think less of them or treat them differently based on the molecule melanin in their skin. There's no reason to determine that the molecule of marijuana metabolite is any different. Both marijuana metabolite and melanin have exactly the same amount of impairing psychoactive power. 0. Yes, I understand the concern about workers being high on active THC. I understand that concern. And if these were tests that were determining people actually being impaired, then I'd be right there with you, defending your right to keep impaired workers out of the workplace. And we actually have the ways of finding truly impaired workers. We've got this technology now. Back when I started with Normal back in 2006, this was just kind of in development. But now, with the ubiquity of tablet devices and touch screens, and the way most people in the workforce now have basic understanding of how to use computers, we now have the ability to do impairment testing. You can set up a laptop test or a tablet test. You could take it out to the construction site. You could take it and picking up people for day labor, you could use this. It's just a simple hand kind of coordination test. Tap this, tap that at a certain time, and you set your own baseline. So when you hire the guy, you give him 3 runs at the test, you average it out, or you take the middle one, whatever you do. But that becomes the baseline. That shows you, hey, this guy's not impaired. He does this well. Then at any time, you could randomly walk up to the employee and say, hey, give me a baseline. Make him tap the screen. I mean, when you're talking about trying to take his pee or his hair or his spit or his blood, you got to have cause. You got to have reason. You got to worry about lawsuits of Fourth Amendment violations. Why wouldn't workplaces want to turn to this impairment testing? Hell, you could have the laptop or the tablet screen right there at the sign-in clock. It could be part of the sign-in software. You got to do your little pip thing and pass before you can clock in for the day. If these people were really cared about impairment, that's what they do. But guess what? They don't really want that kind of impairment testing on the construction site. Why? The foreman who comes in the next day, comes in on Monday after a weekend of hard drinking and partying, it might trip him up. And the boys working, the drywall and the painters and all those guys who after work like to go after work and share a beer. Maybe a couple of them share too many beers. They come to work the next day hungover, and why, they'd fail the test too. See, the problem with impairment testing is it would actually work. It would actually catch these guys who haven't gotten enough sleep, who might be sick that day, who might have a cold and took some sort of cold medication that throws off their reaction times. Yeah, that's the problem. The problem with impairment testing is it would actually work. It would actually take impaired people off the work site rather than just instituting a simple blanket discrimination against people with marijuana metabolites in their system. And this is just one of the tools that is used to maintain our second-class status, to keep us under heel, to make sure that they can control these aspects of our life and to guarantee there's always a permanent sort of underclass. I mean, this whole country was founded on that idea.
Excellent. Isn't life grand?
Excellent! Excellent. Well, that sound means that it is 4:20 here in the Pacific time zone, and that means under our union rules, we must take a safety briefing. Time for a safety meeting. Let's all be safe out there. We'll be right back.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
This is Cannabis Facts from Robert Platshorn's thesilvertour.org, supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com. In 1937, the second most prescribed medicine, marijuana, was banned. It wasn't about marijuana. The paper, oil, and chemical industries lobbied to end hemp farming. No longer labor intensive, an acre of hemp produced more quality paper than 4 acres of trees. Plastics and fibers could be produced from a plant. Hemp can even produce 10 times the energy of today's ethanol. As marijuana prohibition ends, many states now allow farmers to again grow hemp. This was Cannabis Facts from thesilvertour.org, an educational nonprofit supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to process America's hemp crop at hempinc.com.
You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking.
Learn more at mjagenda.com.
I'm Russ Belville with the Marijuana Agenda. Join me every 4 weeks for Veterans of Compassion with the Veterans Cannabis Group. Learn more at mjagenda.com/about.
I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Sounds like a skunk. It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation. Call in now at 650-LEGAL-MJ.
All right, welcome back, everybody. In this segment on Toker Talk Radio, we're going to talk a little bit about New Jersey Governor Christie. Yes, Krispy Kreme himself, as we sometimes call him. And this guy is straight. I mean, it's almost like Harry J. Anslinger was reincarnated sometimes. You got to think that, like, what's up with this guy? How did he get to be so awful on this particular issue? And the answer here, I don't really have a good answer, but there's video that we've got to show you from his appearance at the, he was speaking in front of some healthcare professionals, I believe it was, and I forget the exact name or what their particular purpose was, but very typical bluster from Chris Christie. He's calling out a couple of state senators and a representative, Democrats, that are running for the office of governor. Now, he's term limited. He can't get back to being governor there. So he's trying desperately to create a situation where these Democratic governors are having to run against this against Christie, kind of. They're setting it up in such a way that he's got the marijuana issue front and center, to freak out the conservative folks, and even people in New Jersey who might be a little more moderate on the issue. And the situation is led to him issuing all sorts of bluster over marijuana and how we're crazy for wanting to change the laws. We're crazy to want to stop arresting and locking people up over their use of a product that is safer than alcohol. So let's switch over to the video window. We'll get a little here. Governor Christie. I got to look around the corner there. Here we go. Let's see if this works here. Please work.
It's crazy. We're dying here. You all have to speak out against it. Because believe me, the professional pot lobby, which is only about making money off this, is going to spend the money they need to get this legalized.
First of all, I love the professional pot lobby, which is only in this to make a bunch of money. Oh yeah, I'm rolling in dough, Krispy Kreme. Man, if you could count up how many times I have had to scrape and claw just to put rent together, I could tell you the professional pot lobby is not in this all about the money. I was doing this back when it was illegal. I was doing this when there was no money involved. And as for the people that are moving forward in the cannabis industry, why do you hate American capitalism? It feels weird that me, the hippie socialist liberal out here in Portland, has to defend capitalism to the Republican governor of New Jersey. Marijuana is bought and sold in this country. It's just a fact. Some people want it, some people grow it, some people sell it, some people buy it. It's a fact. It's going to get bought and sold. So, should the people buying and selling it be criminals? Or should the people buying and selling it be registered, tax-paying, law-abiding businesses that are creating jobs and contributing to the economy? Let's hear some more from Christie.
And watch what happens in your hospitals. Watch what happens in your medical practices. Watch what happens in your neighborhoods. I can't wait. You know, people aren't going to yell and scream when the first headshot opens in Newark or Patterson or Camden or Trenton. But man, I can't wait for the first one to open in Short Hills.
All right, first of all, do you recognize the two heads there? The little red head there by the flag and the black head there next to him? That redhead, I believe, is former Representative Patrick Kennedy. And that blackhead, I'm damn sure, is Kevin Sabet. So you can see them nodding and yes, oh yes, of course. Oh, that would be awful. That would be terrible. And note how he's framing this. He is saying the Democrats that are coming in, the likely to be elected in his place, are going to be all gung-ho about legalizing marijuana because they're engaged by the professional pot lobby who's only in it to make a buck. And where are they going to put the pot shops? They're going to put them in Patterson. They're going to put them in Newark. He's basically saying the black towns, the black cities in New Jersey. It's going to go where the black people are.
I can't wait for the first one to open in my old hometown of Livingston. I can't wait until it comes to Cherry Hill. All of a sudden, it's going to be a different ballgame then. And then what's that mean? It's okay to do this just in our cities with our urban population, but keep it away from our godforsaken suburbs?
So again, he's trying to say the professional pot lobby is going to come in. They're only going to let the pot shops and the grows be set up in the black cities. They're not going to go to the hills, the suburbs, the nice affluent godforsaken white areas. I don't know why he said godforsaken. I don't think that's what he meant to say. Governor Christie, the reason why legalized marijuana gets restricted to certain places has nothing to do with where the pot lobby wants to set up. Hell, I'm sure we'd much rather put a whole bunch of high-end pot shops in the Tony areas of town, the gentrified places where there's lots of money being spent, than to have to set them up in more economically depressed areas. But what happens is Republican assholes like you and some blue dog conservative Democrat types, they're the ones who play NIMBY. They're the ones who play not in my backyard and get all, oh, goodness gracious, we can't put it here. We'd be glad to have a more equitable distribution of the licenses, of the grows, of the pot shops. Don't blame redlining and zoning and the racist history of our business practices in this country on us. We're just the ones coming into what already exists. We're the ones that are coming into the system that puts the liquor stores in the poor neighborhoods, that puts the convenience stores in the poor neighborhoods, and then puts the Whole Foods out there in the suburbs, puts the wine shops out in the suburbs. That's not our fault.
You all, many of you in this audience live in those suburbs. I don't care where you are. Let's go to Margate, down Atlantic County. I can't wait to see the town council considering that, variance to build the pot shop in downtown Margate.
Why not? Let's get a pot shop in the downtown there. It's just funny to me that Christie is just exposing his own bigotry, his own can of bigotry in this. There are a couple other things that he had to say. Politico reported on this. He said, of the Democrats, the state's next governor could make the issue a top agenda item. That would be legalization. Christie said, quote, "They want that blood money. Let them do it. And they will. Let me tell you something. This will be likely priority number one come January. I guarantee you, if we have a Democratic governor, it will be priority number one." Oh, no. Don't elect the Democrats. They might legalize marijuana. So Christie went on to call out Democratic politicians by name. He called out Democratic frontrunner Phil Murphy, who's likely to be the next governor of New Jersey. He called out Senator Nick Scutari, who was the sponsor of the bill to legalize, and Senate President Stephen Sweeney, who supports the legalization measure. And of course, what set off Christie was an editorial in the Star Ledger that said, let's just get over this and legalize pot. And in response to that, Christie said, quote, "People like Nick Scutari and Steve Sweeney and Phil Murphy want to bring this poison legalized into this state under the premise that, well, it doesn't matter because people can buy it illegal anyway. Then why not legalize heroin? I mean, their argument fails just on that basis. Let's legalize cocaine. Let's legalize heroin. Let's legalize angel dust. Let's legalize all of it. What's the difference? Let everyone choose." End quote. All right. Well, first of all, Christie, marijuana is not a poison. See, I understand that you and the Republicans live in this fact-free zone where alternative facts work. It's kind of like dark matter. It's like, you can't really define it, but it's got to be there, right? I know you live in this alternative universe, but for the rest of us, facts matter, and the definition of words matter, and the definition of the word poison is one that is harmful to a human, one that can kill a human. Poison is something that when taken properly kills you. Marijuana cannot kill you, Governor Christie. Marijuana is incapable of causing a fatal overdose. It is, by definition, not poison. It is a thing that is not poison. It's anti-poison. And then, what's the difference? Let's legalize cocaine, heroin, angel dust. Once again, you notice how, and this is funny to me because people like Kevin Sabet and all those guys, when they are on the marijuana argument, we will jump to the alcohol thing. It's safer than alcohol. And the first thing they'll say is, oh, you're deflecting. You've got to deflect away from marijuana by talking about alcohol. You got to deflect. What's the first thing these guys do? Let's legalize cocaine. Let's legalize heroin. Let's legalize angel dust. Right. You're deflecting from the fact that the people in New Jersey aren't scared of marijuana, that there's overwhelming majority support in this state to legalize, that nationally there's 60 to 61% support to legalize. You can't scare people with marijuana anymore, so you got to try desperately to link it to cocaine, link it to heroin, link it to angel dust. It's frankly quite offensive how Christie and Jeff Sessions and others are trying so hard to resurrect the gateway theory so they can have that link to heroin. It's like, oh my God, everybody's freaking out about the opiate epidemic. If only we could get them to take that freak out and apply it to marijuana. If we could show them how marijuana leads to heroin, then they'll freak out about both of them and get rid of them both. Just like they did with crack and cocaine versus marijuana. Everybody freaked out about crack and coke, and marijuana is a drug just like that. It leads to that. And, oh my God. It's not going to work this time, guys. Not going to work. They're going to try. They're going to keep trying to link marijuana to heroin, some gateway theory. And the thing that's going to blow up in their face here is just like how the what about the children blew up in their face. For years, what about the children? Marijuana, medical marijuana, what message will they get? Well, the message they got was it doesn't change much for them. They don't start using anymore. They get the message that it's actually a medicine, not some crazy thing that's going to drive them insane. Actually drives down the forbidden fruit aspect of it, so they're less interested in the whole thing altogether. And what about the children? We found out that certain aspects of cannabis help the epileptic children not die. And that same exact idea, them trying to push the gateway theory to heroin, is going to blow up in their face as more and more people become cognizant of the fact that marijuana is the gateway out of heroin abuse, out of opiate abuse that was pushed on us by Christie's pharmaceutical companies in Jersey.
You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
New beginner guitars and banjos are often constructed much better than ones built before your time. Why struggle? Get a new instrument or fix the old one. The trusted professionals at the Fingerboard Extension will evaluate your instrument for free. Repairs are priced for people who work for a living. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
It's time for cannabis facts about teen drug use from Robert Platshorn's thesilvertour.org. This message is supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com. A recent survey by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control indicates that in states that have legalized medical marijuana, the rate of marijuana consumption among high school students has not increased. In fact, in legal states like Colorado, teen use has actually decreased significantly. It's simply no longer a big deal for teenagers in legal states. This was Cannabis Facts from thesilvertour.org, an educational nonprofit supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com.
The Marijuana Agenda. Like the liberal agenda, but with profits. Ka-ching.
I'm Russ Belville from the Marijuana Agenda. Join me every 2 weeks for the voice of the industry from the National Cannabis Industry Association. Learn more at mjagenda.com/about.
Most of us pirates, we go on vacation to North Dakota, because they've got a town called Argosville. Arr. What are you smoking there, boy?
It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation. Call in now at 650-LEGAL-MJ.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's 39 after the hour, or close enough to it. And I want to go back to the story we were talking about earlier with Roger Goodell and the NFL, because it's getting a lot of heat about the players wanting to be able to use cannabis for medical purposes, especially as they become more and more informed about the miracle cannabis treatment can be for concussion, for brain damage, for the injuries that NFL players are all going to get. And considering that the NFL had to pay out a ton of money, well, not by their standards, but by any normal human standards, had to pay out a ton of money over the concussion settlement because they were keeping risks of brain damage hidden from the players. This is just natural to expect them to want to use cannabis. And especially now when we have I think it's like 21 of the 23 of the 32 teams. Yes, all but 9 of the NFL teams play in states where medical cannabis is legal to some degree. And there's a few of them, 12 or so, that are playing in states where marijuana use, period, is legal. Adult use is legal. But you got the commissioner, Roger Goodell, talking to the Mike and Mike show, saying that they continue to ban marijuana because it's unhealthy and addictive, which is ridiculous considering the drugs that these players are given regularly by the NFL. He also said he didn't want the league to be on the hook for the long-term damage that marijuana might cause. Wow. Avoided for years doing anything about concussions and opiate painkiller abuse, but we're worried that the marijuana might like jazz too much. They might get into the Butterfingers too often. Who knows? So the NFL Players Association years ago had a collective bargaining agreement. The players union and the NFL owners, they negotiate the union, the agreement between the league and the union for what are the rights of the players, what are the conditions of playing, and so forth. So the real reason why the NFL is standing by a ban on marijuana use by the players that they know is ridiculous is simply because they've got to hold on to that as part of their bargaining when they negotiate the new contract in 2020. Here's the deal. According to NFL Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports, the NFL and the NFL Players Association agreed years ago to prevent players from smoking marijuana. If the players want that to change, the league believes they need to be prepared to make a concession at the bargaining table. Indeed, when Cowboys owner Jerry Jones recently argued to his colleagues that the NFL needs to change its position on marijuana, he was reminded that the players should give something up if they want to get the power to use it. Given that most players either don't smoke or are smart enough to navigate the substance abuse testing procedures, it will be difficult to persuade them to give something up for something that they don't want or need. So let's see if we got this straight. The NFL is willing to let their players continue to play and make them billions of dollars, damaging their brains in the process. They know there's a medicine those players could take that could protect their brains and help wean them off opiate painkiller abuse, but they won't give it to them without getting something back in return. Man, that's sick. Isn't that just disgusting? And now the politics of it, like they wrote, most players get away with smoking pot or just don't smoke pot. So how are you going to convince 70, 80% of the players, maybe, well, let's say 60, maybe 50, but whatever. How are you going to convince a large proportion of the players to either give up conditions of salary or conditions of compensation or other sorts of negotiating points in the contract? How are you going to, settle for lower league minimums or something? How are you going to get them to settle for that when they don't have to? When most of them know they can get away with smoking pot and pass the test and it's no big deal. So we could have a situation where the players know it's stupid and would like it to change. The owners know it's stupid and would like it to change. The fans know it's stupid and would like it to change. But nobody can change it because everybody's got in this they're kind of on a seesaw, right? They're all kind of balanced. If one of them steps off, the other one crashes. Nobody can move both at the same time here. It's just disgusting. And it sounds to me like if this is the situation, the only thing that might solve this is a lawsuit, is taking it to court and getting a judge to force this to happen. This sounds like the economics of it and the politics of it aren't going to make that possible. Now, the Players Association is hoping to separately pressure the league to relax the marijuana restriction, not because the league has secured a concession at the bargaining table, but because it's the right thing to do. What? Hold on. I'm trying to wrap my mind around the idea that a corporation might do something because it's the right thing to do. Oh, that's so, just weird. A little shiver went down my back. And you know what? I'm being sarcastic, of course, because when you get right down to it, the National Football League is a nonprofit organization. Now, its league office gave up its tax-exempt nonprofit status back in like 2015 or something. Part of the side effect of that is now they don't have to disclose how much they pay Roger Goodell. But the league, the teams of the league, are a nonprofit trade association. So, aren't nonprofits supposed to be doing things for the public good? I mean, already it's kind of a little bit of a flimsy argument to say football games are part of the public good necessarily. I mean, I'm a big football fan. Don't get me wrong. I like my football, but it's hard to argue that, it's a necessary public good, right? But if it is, then the league should do the right thing and not have to try to strong arm the players out of this. The times were different when the league and the players negotiated that original settlement, that original contract that we're talking about that banned the players from using marijuana. One way that could change this, but it just, wouldn't happen, but it did. I mean, they've had some pretty star players, some high-level names that have had to sit out numerous games because of flunking pot quiz. Von Miller from the Denver Broncos, the Super Bowl MVP. Josh Gordon, the standout wide receiver for the Browns, who was a league leader and had to sit out whole season. I think it was reduced to 10 games afterwards, but still. When these guys get popped and they have to sit out games, they also lose the paychecks for that. And I know a lot of people are out there, well, these guys are millionaires. They're millionaires. Blah, blah, blah. Well, most of them aren't. Most of them make, less than $1 million a year. They make some league minimum 6-figure thing, like $400,000, $500,000, whatever. And nothing to sneeze at. That's some pretty damn good money. But consider what they do for that money. They got to curb what they say and do and where they go and how they act at all times because they're an NFL player and bad headline can get them right in the news. So right there, they got to police their private behavior and certainly police their public behavior. They put their bodies at risk, not just every Sunday, but every practice, every day at work for an NFL player is a day that could be the end of his career, that could be a career-ending injury, something horrendous. They already put their life expectancy on the line. The NFL linemen and the guys that take the most pain and balloon to the largest size, those guys don't live often into their 60s or 70s. And the pain they have to go through and the travel schedule and where they're, day after day after day. And the average NFL career, lasts 3-4 years. It's rare you get a Jim McMahon or a Peyton Manning that's in there for 15, 16 years. These guys mostly are in and out of the league, 3-4 years. Especially when you start talking about running backs and linebackers and a lot of these guys that get hit a lot. So in the big scheme of things, the money they make in the 3-4 years, if they're making $500,000 a year, might be $2 million. And then you start talking about taking a quarter of 1 year's salary away from them, a 4-game suspension for a pot failure, increased to a 10-game suspension for a second offense. And the pot failure we're talking about is mere nanograms, just a few, I think what's the NFL at now? 35, I think. 35 nanograms is a failure. When the World Anti-Doping Agency, they control the Olympic sports. They also, their standards are adopted by things like Nevada State Athletic Commission for boxing and mixed martial arts, other state commissions as well. Almost the whole world changed their standard. It was 15 nanograms. And what they found is they were catching people who were pot smokers, but they obviously weren't high. They were smoking a week or two ago. And in changing their standard, they raised it by a factor of 10. They jumped it up to 150 nanograms per milliliter. And the argument behind it from the authorities at the World Anti-Doping Agency was, look, we want to catch people who are smoking too close to the event time that might have some residual issue there. We're not trying to catch people and police their private lives. And in the case of National Hockey League, they don't even test for weed. What's the point? These guys have blades on their feet, sticks in their hands, and are flying across the ice at each other and launching a small rubber object through the air at blistering speeds. Weed's our least concern here. We're not even that worried about the weed, man. It's just insane. And so for Goodell and the NFL to continue to let the players take these unnecessary risks with opiate painkillers who have to deal with concussion and traumatic brain injury without the benefit of the best possible medicine they could use for that, it's unconscionable. And it's getting tougher for me every year, and football's such a big part of my culture and my family and my life and my entertainment. But it just gets more and more difficult year by year to be able to call myself an NFL football fan or an NCAA football fan when they won't take seriously the lives of the players that we invest our time with, that we invest our emotions with. We care about whether these players do well. And we're not just, spectators in the Coliseum waiting for the gladiators to be eaten by the lions. We actually care about these people as human beings. They become interesting people. So I really hope that saner minds will prevail and this doesn't become a tit for tat. We've got to get some sort of concession before we do the right thing. NFL, just do the right thing. You could use some good headlines for a change. All right, we'll wind things up when we come back in our closing segment. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
Hey everybody, it's Russ Belville from the Marijuana Agenda, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson, or Norman, and I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact NORML at norml.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
You're listening to the Marijuana Agenda with Russ Belville.
I'm Russ Belville from the Marijuana Agenda. Join me for A Sensible Future from Students for Sensible Drug Policy every other Tuesday here on the Marijuana Agenda. Learn more at mjagenda.com/about.
Pod 2.0.
It's not your father's Woodstock weed.
It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation. Call in now at 650-LEGAL-MJ.
All right, welcome back here as we close up the show here, last segment of the hour. We've got a couple of stories to get to, very interesting stories. First of all, coming out of Disney World, NBC Miami reports that Disney World officially bans marijuana from Orlando area theme parks. Yes, let's go to some of the audio here from NBC Miami.
There are a couple of items that you cannot bring into Disney World. They say no, things like weapons, alcohol, drones, and skateboards. But now there is one other item they don't want you to bring into the park, and that is marijuana. So despite it being legal for medical use in Florida, we voted it in November. The happiest place on earth does not want marijuana in their park. So just so there's no confusion, for the first time, Disney World now has it officially written down under the prohibited items list.
There you go. So don't be taking your weed to the happiest place on earth. Even though it's your constitutional right to use this medicine, the folks at Walt Disney Corporation have decided through their many, many years of training at medical school that you just don't need that medicine at the park. Feel free to come in with your bottle of OxyContin, though. If you got some OxyContin, that's fine. We'll let you get on the teacup ride. That's cool. You can go to It's a Small World. That's all fine. You can even go on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which was based on Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, which was basically a whole parable of drug use. I mean, the girl's eating mushrooms that make her small. But, yeah, don't bring any pot. Don't bring any pot. Wouldn't want to spoil the whole psychedelic Mr. Toad experience. Yeah, Disney. What can we say about Disney? They don't want sick people, I guess, to go to their parks. I guess Disney just doesn't like the sick people. If you want to go to Disney Park, make sure you're healthy, or make sure you have a disease that you can treat with something other than cannabis, right? I guess it's not just sick people. It's only sick people who can be helped by cannabis. That's it. If you're a sick person with glaucoma or maybe some chronic pain issues that could be helped by cannabis, Disney doesn't want your money. Don't go. They don't like you. Man. So reading this story just, of course, infuriates me because it's, again, an example of the legalized bigotry that we face, right? What is the argument for keeping someone out of the park who's a medical marijuana patient? Because let's be clear that that's what this does. No, they don't have to bring their marijuana. They can leave it in the car. The medical marijuana patient can just come into the park and leave it in the car. Oh, okay. Would you tell the asthmatic that? The asthmatic has to leave it in the car. Okay. And I know what they're saying. I know what they're worried about. They're like, well, we let the marijuana in. The next thing you know, they'll be smoking it around the corner and people smell pot in the Disney World and they'll hate it. Look, smoking's already banned, isn't it? Last I recall, smoking tobacco was banned in the Disney parks. Are there? Let's check if that's true. Is smoking banned in Walt Disney World? Let's ask the old Google. Walt Disney World restaurants, shops, theme parks, and resort hotels are smoke-free environments except for designated smoking areas. Smoking's not allowed in hotel rooms, but it is allowed in the designated outdoor smoking locations. So, if you're addicted to tobacco, we'll make an accommodation for you, even though that's not medical. Well, yeah, we understand. You don't want to get your fix, right? You want to get your fix of drugs. So at Walt Disney World, we'll set up a place for the nicotine addicts to get their fix. That'll be fine. But a medical marijuana patient, a sick person using cannabis as medicine, they can't bring that in. And not only can they not smoke it in the designated smoking area, they can't even have an edible. They can't bring an edible or a tincture or a capsule because that's also what we're talking about here, isn't it? Marijuana products, right? Does Disney World allow me to bring in a Marinol prescription, though? Can I bring in my bottle of dronabinol, synthetic THC? Is that okay? It's, again, I get sarcastic because it's bigotry. Because there's no logical reason to ban this one medicine. I'll accept the logic of banning the smoking of pot. I can accept that. I can accept that, yes, a cloud of pot smoke smells, and you might want to have a theme park where kids are around free from the smell of pot. I can accept that, but only so far as I can accept how they treat tobacco. We've got the science showing the secondhand tobacco smoke is harmful to the kids. There is no science showing the secondhand cannabis smoke is harmful to the kids. So if you're going to go as far as allow people to smoke tobacco there, you've got to allow them to smoke their medical marijuana there. Treat marijuana like alcohol and tobacco. We figured out how to deal with mind-altering substances and smoke. Folks, that's all the time we got. Thanks for joining us. I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
Follow MJ Agenda on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, and SoundCloud. And follow MJ Agenda Show on Twitter. Learn more at mjagenda.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you try it, you roll it.